Well, today I get to talk about something I'm incredibly passionate about, like what Pastor Stephen said. And it's about being faithful with what God has put in your hands and being faithful where you're planted. And if anything really pulses through my veins and gets me going, I'm excited to be here every Sunday. I'm excited to wake up. And yes, this is my job, so yes, but I'm excited about it as well. It's about being found faithful with what God has given us. And so today we're going to look at some examples in the Bible of people who were faithful when God was quiet. They were faithful when they doubted. They were faithful when they were unsure. And we're going to dive in today. So we're going to talk about how do we keep that posture, because sometimes life is lifing, and it can knock you off track, and you can get a little distracted or put priorities in a different order. But we're going to look at the Bible today and learn how we can stay faithful. So while we're going through those principles, I want you guys to keep this on, the posture of your heart. Step out, stay faithful, and watch what God produces. Step out, stay faithful, and watch what he produces. So I'll start with a question I think some of us wrestle with at some point in our lives is, what is my calling? What is my purpose? What is my calling? Raise your hand if you've asked that at some point or another. And I want to challenge that today with maybe a different perspective. And a better question might be is, what fruit is being produced from my life? What fruit is being produced from my life? And today's culture, purpose is very much treated like a destination on a map, somewhere you arrive to, somewhere you get to. Young people, imagine your grandparents getting in the car, pulling out a paper map and following to the destination. No GPS, no instruction. But today, that is what purpose is like. You pump it into the GPS and you arrive. But that is not what the kingdom of God is like. It doesn't work like that. Purpose isn't just out there somewhere where you arrive to. Purpose is planted right where you are. Purpose is planted right here where you are. And so ownership and fruit in our lives does not just grow overnight. It doesn't grow overnight. It grows through faithfulness and being a good steward, okay? So I'm already on point number 1. We're going to get through this, okay? Point number 1. How do we do this? How do we keep our mind right? How do we keep our heart posture right? We are faithful with what's in our hands. And we're going to look at Luke 1 and starting in verse 5. Luke 1, verse 5. In the time of King Herod of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Both of them were righteous in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly. But they were childless because Elizabeth was not able to conceive, and they were both very old. And so from this little 2-verse passage here, we can determine that Zechariah and Elizabeth were righteous, and it kind of tells them they were from a lineage of some sort. So they looked good on the outside. They were from the right side of the tracks. They were doing all the things. The Bible even calls them blameless. And they did not have the desire of their heart yet. They did not have a child yet. So it tells me that they were faithful and through disappointment. They kept serving, they kept praying. And really what was in their hands? If you look physically, it was old age. It was probably a lot of tearful nights. But they were able to give that over to God because he shows up soon. And quitting on God while he's quiet or when he seems to be quiet is not the move. Sometimes we're just ready to bail because we haven't heard from him or we haven't heard a word or we don't feel peace in our heart and we're like, this must not be it. But I want to challenge you today, even though God is quiet, don't quit on him. It also tells me in this little passage that faithfulness is not measured by visible results because they did not have that visible result. It's measured by consistent obedience. Faithfulness is measured by consistent obedience because they were faithful. They were doing all the things that they were supposed to do. And then God shows up. Look at verse 13. An angel shows up here, not just an angel, like the angel. Gabriel shows up to him and says, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard." And so what if the season you are in right now, maybe it is a little quiet. What if it's not delay, but it's preparation for what God has for you? He's preparing fruit in you to bear. And think of a tree in your backyard, maybe a fruit tree, right? It starts out small. Its only job is to grow, right? It starts out real small and its only job is to grow. And over time, you expect the peach pit, the seed in the ground, to produce some kind of fruit. What if God is calling us here today to be fruitful and not just leafy? Because if you look out 20 years from your house and you don't see any fruit, you're like, wait a minute, something's going on. It provides shade, it provides leaves, but there's no fruit on it. You would be like, what's up with that? What if God is calling us today to bear fruit and not just be leafy and look good when we come to church? And while you're waiting for God to answer your prayers, while you're waiting for him to respond, like Zachariah and Elizabeth were, you're faithful with what's in your hands. You're faithful with the gifts that God's given you. And there's a verse in Psalms 37:4, and a lot of us sometimes can use it like it's a magic potion. It isn't. Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and what? He will give you the desires of your heart. That sounds awesome, right? I can just do this. This will happen. But that really doesn't mean that you get everything you want. It doesn't mean you get everything at once. It means that when you root yourself in him, he begins to align your desires, your purposes for what he has for you. When you root yourself in him, he begins to align your desires. It's kind of like a trick, like pulling the rug out, I got you. But it's for his purpose. It's for his kingdom. So I want you to take out your hand and just look at it. Say, what's in my hand? And don't look with your physical eyes. Start to look with your eyes of faith. Maybe God has placed something in your life already. Maybe it's a relationship, a responsibility. Maybe it's a small opportunity that you have. What is in your hands? And I also challenge you today, don't wait for that thing in your hand to be big. Go ahead and give it to God, and he'll make it big for you. He will make it big. So number one, we are faithful with what God has given us in our hands. That was point number one. Point number two, how are we faithful? How are we serving in God's house all the time? How are we glad to come to church? And we serve like we're the owner. And that's a familiar word for us here at Revive Church. We serve like we're the owner. And we're going to turn to Matthew 14, verses 28 and 29. And this is when Jesus is calling Peter out into the water. Verse 28, it says, Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Come, he said. Peter got down on the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. So Peter sees Jesus out there, and we know the story from Sunday school. The conditions are crazy, and it's a storm out there, so he can't really see, and he's just making sure, Lord, if that's you, anybody ever just made sure, Lord? Because I had pizza last night, and it could be that reaction. But Lord, if it's you, tell me to come. And Jesus says, come. And so Peter steps out, not because the storm is gone, not because his life is perfect, not because his schedule is free. He steps out because he can hear the Lord say, come. And I think sometimes when a lot of us hear the Lord say, do something or come, or we hear Pastor Stephen say, hey, I need a new Connect group leader, we start to look at our surroundings. And we're like, wait a minute, my schedule's really busy right now. It's not safe for me to jump out there now. I've been hurt before. We want to know that our life isn't going to be disrupted, and when we step out and say yes. But, I think about when Pastor Stephen started this church, we had been in church together. For those who don't know, I've known him for a really long time. We grew up in church together and youth group together, and when he said, hey, God told me to start a church, it wasn't because he needed something new to do in his life. I know he had career plans other than this. But he called me and he said, God told me to start a church. Will you help? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I was driving north on Green Oaks. I can see it today. I'm like, yes. Yeah. Why? But why? Because Jesus said, come. Lord, if it's you, tell me to come. And Jesus said, come. And he didn't wait for the wind to stop. He didn't wait until he felt worthy. He stepped out because a word was enough. And to me, that is what ownership looks like. When you serve like it's yours. You serve like it's yours here at Revive Church. So what if God is asking you today to serve like you own the house and to go all in, is what we like to call it around here. And I think, let's be honest here, a lot of us sometimes feel and act sometimes like we're a renter at church. We just take up a little bit of space, The extremely cold AC is blowing on us, and we love that. We just come, things are done for us, and then we get to go home. Anybody ever experienced a bad renter or seen the effects of a bad renter? Now, I know none of you guys are like that here. You would not treat this facility like that. But a bad renter doesn't care about anything because it's not theirs. They don't care. It would be like you notice things are off around here and you don't fix them. You notice someone alone and you don't go say hi. But ownership says, no, this is my house, and I'm not waiting for anyone to do it. And you might feel unqualified, but listen, that's okay. That's okay. Peter wasn't qualified to walk out on the water. He was just willing to get out of the boat. He just had to say, yep, I'll be there. I'll be there. And so another example of serving like you're the owner is in Matthew 25. You guys still with me? I know if it's your first time, you're like, I don't know this place. You can put these principles together at work, at school, anywhere you are. Another example of serving like you're the owner is in Matthew 25. And here Jesus is telling a story, a parable of 3 servants or employees that this master has. And he gives them a large sum of money. It was called a talent back in the day. And so the first guy, he gives 5 talents. The second guy, he gives 2 talents. And the third guy, he gives 1 talent. And the first 2 guys invest and multiply. They do a good job. And the last one, he buries it. Why? Why does he bury it? We talked about this Wednesday at Students as well, which is kind of cool. Why did he bury it? And to me, he was afraid. That's what the Bible says. What if he just didn't want to put the effort in to invest? Because it takes a little time to take care of something. Maybe his schedule was busy. He just didn't want to take the time. He wanted it out of sight, out of mind. So what did he do? He buried it. He didn't treat it like it belonged to him. And look what the Bible says about this man. This is kind of harsh, so sometimes the Bible will slap you around. His master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. You knew that I had harvest where I had not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take that bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they do have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth." I feel like you need to put your hand up and say, throw that worthless servant out there. Like, that is intense. And I don't know about you guys, but I would never want my Lord to look down and be like, she wasted it. I gave it to her and she wasted it. This guy was given something of value and he didn't take it seriously. He let it go to waste. So God is looking for people in this house today and in the capital C church all around to use the gift like it belongs to them and not waste it. You see a need, you meet it. You see a gap, you step in it, and you feel underqualified. I'm just going to say join the club, but be willing anyways. Don't wait to be discovered. Just be dependable where you're at. It's my catchphrase, and I didn't know anybody else knew it, but I just keep showing up. Like, I'm just here. I'm going to keep showing up and see what God does with my yes. And ownership, you ever work for a couple different bosses? Ownership can look a little different. One guy's really lax. It's casual Friday every day. One guy's like suit and tie, whatever it might be. But ownership in God's house, so let's be clear, owners don't wait to be told. They take initiative. And again, this doesn't just apply to church. This can apply where you're at and on the job, at school, with your boss. Owners don't take initiative. Owners don't wait to be told. They take initiative. If there's trash, you take it out. If someone looks lost, you welcome them in. You walk through the building with a little bit of sense of pride. Like, this is my church. This is God's house. And I'm an owner here. Number 2, owners carry the weight of the vision. They carry the weight of the vision. Man, you don't just attend church. We get to carry this vision. So God gave a vision to Pastor Stephen for us to be the church of 2030, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But there's a small book in the Old Testament called Habakkuk. Everybody say Habakkuk. Bless you. Bless you. Habakkuk 2:2. It says, "The Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. Other versions say, write down the vision and make it plain. How many of you guys have written down the vision of 2030? How many of you could say what that is? Yeah. We have been called. We are the heralds. We have been called to run with this vision. And number 3, owners don't make excuses. They make it happen. And you don't have it all. None of us rarely do, right? We don't have it all, but we can bring all we have here to church. We can bring all we have because our yes moves things forward. And owners think, what can I bring, not what can I get from church, from this place, from the body of Christ? What can I bring? And so, yeah, our pastor asked for Connect group leaders. Yes, I can do that. Do it scared. Do it anyways. You're willing to say yes. You see, we need our team leaders out here. We're like, we need more greeters. We need more people to make coffee. We need people and kids. Your yes will take this place to the next level. And that makes you faithful with what's in your hand, and it also makes you an owner of this house. That is, I think, the mentality that the Capital C Church needs, not just renters, not just people who are here for a moment, but people who are all in. And they said, this is my church. And so our ownership culture here at Revive Church is we are owners, not members, right? So you serve here, and you're not just filling a spot, you're fulfilling a purpose. It's fulfilling a purpose. We use this app called Planning Center, and it tells you when you're scheduled. I know some of y'all have that 3 pages deep on your little phone, and the notifications just, I don't know. I can't see any of y'all, so I'm not really looking at anybody. You're not just filling a spot. You're not just saying yes to an app request. You're fulfilling a purpose. And listen, we don't serve for our pastors. We don't serve for him. We serve with him. It's an honor to get to do that. So we don't just hear the vision, we get to carry it. And so how do we step out, stay faithful, and own what God has given us? We're faithful with what's in our hands. We serve like we're the owner. And number 3, we keep our eyes on Jesus, not the wind. And we're going to go back and visit our friend Peter here in Matthew 14. At this point, Peter is walking on the water. He's out there. He said yes. But then what starts to happen? And I think some of us can find ourselves in this place. He said yes. And in verse 30, but when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him, which is another sermon in and itself. You of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? When they climbed into the boat, the wind died down, and those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. So Peter sees the wind, and immediately he starts to sink. He sees the thunderstorm going. He sees the swells. It's pitch black out there. He starts to doubt, and fear begins to set in. If you're honest with yourself, you've been in this spot. Peter didn't sink because he wasn't called. Right? He was called to come out. He sank because he took his eyes off Jesus. And I think focus determines fruit in our lives. Focus will determine fruitfulness in your life. And if you stay steady, your eyes are on Jesus, you'll walk on that water every single time. You'll stay out there for years. You'll walk on water as long as it takes because your focus is on him. And if doubt is sitting in your heart, and if you start to begin to let selfishness sink in, or doubt or fear, and sit on the very thing that God has asked you to do, you will sink every time. I don't want that to be negative and like, nah. You'll sink every time. You'll look around and be like, I am drowning here. So Luke, back to Zechariah, Luke 1. What is their responses? Okay, so Zechariah gets this word. You're going to have a baby. We heard your prayers. Zechariah asked the angel in verse 18, how can I be sure of this? He responded with a little bit of doubt. I don't know, Lord. How can I be sure? I just want to be sure. We've wasted all this time. We've had all these prayers. We've had all these nights of waiting. How can I be sure? And a little bit further down the text, we see the same angel, Gabriel, visit a young girl named Mary. And she is going to be the mother of Jesus. And let's look at Mary's response. She said in Luke 1:38, I am the Lord's servant, Mary replied. May your word to me be fulfilled. And then the angel left her. Mary responded with surrender. Let it be to me according to your word. Same angel, same God, a little bit different response here. So I want to ask you guys today, what is your response? What is yours? Maybe you started with faith, and now the wind is really loud in your life. The waves are knocking you to and fro, and you really can't keep your head above water. You're looking at your surroundings, doubt starts to set in, and you talk yourself out of the thing that God has asked you to do. And I just want to remind you guys today that faithfulness is never wasted. It is never wasted with God. And what did we say faithfulness is back in the beginning? Faithfulness is consistent obedience. Faithfulness is consistent obedience. I want you guys to repeat this after me. Say, obedience is my responsibility, and the outcome is God's. Yeah, the outcome is God's. So we're responsible to be obedient. We're responsible to respond. We're responsible to say yes and step out of the boat. And I just want to land this today with a few challenges for you guys. And I want to speak directly to your hearts here. Don't close your heart off. Be like, oh, that's her job. That's what she's supposed to do. No. When I was a senior in high school, I was already saved at this point, and I'd given my life to the Lord, and I started serving behind the scenes and serving as a coordinator and, shocker, doing all the things that I love to do. And I was given a car my senior year. I didn't have a car, so I had early release, and I got to get out of school early so I could go work. And I was depending on people to get me to and from. I was walking back and forth to school. And this lady I went to church with was getting a new car, and she was like, hey, the Lord told me to give you this old car that I have. And I was like, what? Like, amazing. And so they have a picture of what my old car would have looked like if it was a few years older, because I couldn't find an actual old one. But it was a single cab, tan Ford Ranger, manual transmission, little two-seater. It wasn't my dream car, right? It wasn't my dream car, but it was mine. I owned it. There wasn't a penny of debt on it. And guess what I was doing every Saturday morning? I was out there washing that car. I was making sure that it was right, making sure it was pretty. I wanted to tell everybody about it. You weren't about to leave a French fry in my car. No, sir. Because you treat something differently when you own it. It means something to you. It's something of value. Man, what is your response today? This is not the season to wait, to say yes. The harvest is plentiful right here in Revive Church, right here in Arlington, Texas. This is not the season to sit on your hands and not own what God entrusted you to. And I was studying this word of ownership and faithfulness, and I stumbled across this Greek word called meiraki. Meiraki. And I'd never heard it before, but it completely leapt off the page, so I felt like I needed to share it with you guys today. But it's a Greek word that signifies something with your soul. Doing something with your soul, creativity or love. It means putting a piece of yourself into your work or any activity. It conveys a sense of passion, devotion, undivided attention when performing a task, often with joy. It's about pouring your heart and soul into something, leaving a part of yourself in the result. Man, what a cool word. What an awesome word. And I think that also defines what it means to say yes, what it means to be an owner here at Revive Church. I'm not going to cry because I can't see my notes. However, man, when we all get to heaven, we get to look down at this timeline of churches. And Revive is going to have a spot, and we get to determine how small that spot is. Are they going to keep turning pages and be like, oh, Revive is still going? Revive is still going. How many pages do they need? Or are we just going to be this little blip in history? We are not managing ministry here. We get to multiply it. And that's an honor. That's an incredible honor. So our church's vision is to be the church of 2030. That is the vision that Pastor Stephen has given us. Our mission is what? To introduce real people to the real Jesus. How do we get to this vision? We're building the church of 2030, and that means it's a church that's effective in its mission. Thank you, Pam. It's a church that's effective in its mission. It's a church that's taking ground both physically and digitally. More services, maybe at a different campus. Maybe there's more platforms for us to reach people. There's 1 billion people out there who need to hear about Jesus. And it's a church that is for the now and the next generation. A church for the now and the next generation. We're doing life together. It's not the young people have a service, the kids are upstairs, we don't know what they're doing. We're in this together. Look at somebody next to you and say, we're in it together. Yeah, we're in it together. And listen, I am not here today to say, y'all aren't doing this, come be like me, do this. No, I promise, every day I have to renew my mind to being faithful to what God has for me. And I'm not here to diminish your relationship with the Lord or the season that you're in, but I am here to call us higher and help you realize that faithfulness plus ownership can equal the things in your life that you're believing for, the breakthrough in your life that you're believing for. I have been in ministry 20 plus years, guys, and I can tell you that faithfulness in God's house yields results that will blow your mind. What if we all stepped out into the water and said yes to what God was calling us to do? What if we all remained faithful with what was in our hands and continued to believe God for our answers like Elizabeth and Zechariah? What if we decided not to sit on our hands and let that gift of value go to waste? What would our church look like if we all put it in the ground and invested it and worked it and multiplied it? Can you imagine how much more awesome Revive Church would be? I don't know if awesomer is a word, probably not, but imagine how much more awesome it would be if we all really owned the vision that Pastor Stephen has for our church. And can you imagine if we all just charge the hill with Pastor Stephen? He doesn't have to drag us along, right? We're ahead of him. We are running ahead of him. You know what? I got you, Pastor Stephen. I got you. He's going to have to keep up with us. How many more kids could be impacted in Revive Kids and hear about Jesus? A seed that it would never be uprooted, something that can set them on a course for life. How many more students could go to summer camp and spend the best week of their life out there, and the Lord speaks to them and said, you know what? I have something for you. You are called. You are different. How many more? How many more services could we have and fill this place 1, 2, 3 times over if we all said yes to owning this mission and vision? Can you imagine what this place would look like? And can you imagine the weight we could help take off of our pastor as he's carrying this vision? How am I going to make this happen? All we have to say is, yes, we're going to make this happen with you. We got you. Look at the person next to them. Go ahead and high five them. Say, we're going to do this together, y'all. We are going to do this together. Man, I wanted to take this moment. The worship team is going to come up here. I wanted to take this moment with you guys and kind of seal it. Back in the old day, like when someone of royalty or military, perhaps, they needed to get the word out, and they would write a letter, and they put it in an envelope, they poured hot wax on it, and they stamped it, and they sealed it, right, so that it couldn't get out, so that the word couldn't get out. But that's what I saw this morning. I need this word to be in your heart, and I need you to take this moment. We're going to sing More Than Able one more time, but take a moment with the Lord, and because maybe you're on the edge of like, I haven't been faithful with what's in my hand. I need a moment to repent. Or Lord, show me again. Give me another chance, God. I'll do it. Because he is more than able. And this song says, can you imagine with all of the faith in the room what the Lord can do? Can you imagine if we all said yes, what the Lord can do? Again, I am not here to shame you for not doing anything because we're doing our best we can. I'm here to just reignite a passion and say, you know, I can do a little bit more. I can go out a little bit further. I can say yes quicker. Faithfulness plus ownership can equal what you're believing God for. So again, I'm going to challenge you guys. Commit to own the mission and vision of Revive Church. Act like this is your house. This is your family. Don't be a renter. Don't be a member. You're going to be an owner. And let's run with the vision like it's ours. Number 2, I'm going to ask you to join a serve team. Join the Revive team. You have a gift that can be used. Be faithful, show up early, stay late, do the fun things, yes? You don't have to have a title to have authority as an owner here. Are you good at hosting? Yeah, we have a host team. You got a good voice? You can play keys? We got a worship team. You're great at behind the scenes. You're great at working with your hands. We got production. We got facilities. You want to work behind the scenes. We have admins and coordinators and things that we need people to fill so we can make this place grow. And the last little challenge here is be faithful with what is in your hand. You don't need to chase the next thing. You don't need to chase your next purpose. Right here is your purpose. Right here where you're planted. Steward the now. Because fruit grows from faithfulness. And then God is not waiting for you to be perfect. He's just waiting for you to be willing. He is waiting for you to be willing. And when you step out, stay faithful. This house will flourish. So if you guys will stand.